Hi guys, how are you today? So this is our next recipe and we're going to make soda bread. It's really easy actually. It sounds tricky but it's really not. There's only a few ingredients, so we just need plain flour, which is this one here. Got some coarse wholemeal flour at the back there, some buttermilk, some bicarbonate of soda or baking soda, they're the same thing, and so just like a teaspoon of salt. The only things that you're going to need, like materials you're going to need, are a bowl for mixing them in, a weighing scales to just measure out all the ingredients, and then just a normal baking tray like this one here that I've just covered in a bit of flour at the bottom. That's all that is. And you need to have the oven preheated to 210 degrees centigrade, or that's 195 degrees if you have a fan oven. And then once you have the bread in, you're going to turn the oven down, but I'll explain that bit in a little while. So if you guys want to get all your ingredients and your bits and pieces, your materials together, then we can get started. Okay, so this is all the dry ingredients. So down here at the bottom, I've got 250 grams of plain white flour. Then up here, this brown stuff is the 250 grams of coarse wholemeal flour. I've got 1 teaspoon of baking soda and I've got 1 teaspoon of salt. That's it. They're all just in the bowl together at the same time. So what you want to do then is just mix them all up together. It's quite important to get them pretty well mixed, just so you don't get any lumps of soda. And then once you've done that, just make a well in the middle. So you can see I've got a hole in the middle there. And now I'm going to add in this 500 mils here of buttermilk. So I'm just going to literally whack it all in the middle. And it will be sloppy to start out with. Use a spoon to start with and then your hands, which is what I'm going to do. You can just use the spoon the whole time if you want. If it's not sloppy, then add a little bit more buttermilk. Okay, so this next bit's going to be tricky for me to do while I'm holding the phone. So I'm going to mix this up together until it's into a nice ball. It's going to be quite sloppy, so don't worry about that if it is. And once it is, then I'm going to turn it out onto my floured work surface here. And I'm going to start kneading it into a ball. And I'll come back to you at that stage. So you guys can do that now. Mix all this up and then turn it out onto your board. Okay, so this is what's come out of my bowl. A big round ball onto my nice well floured surface, and I'm going to knead it. Okay, I'll try and do this with one hand. That basically means you're just squishing it and pulling it and mixing it together basically with your hands. Bread needs to be kneaded a little bit just for the structures and everything to build up so that you get a nice bread at the end of it. So just keep doing that until it kind of comes together like this. And don't worry if your hands are a bit messy and whatever, that's the way it's meant to be. Just if it's starting to stick to your work surface, just put more flour down. So you just need to do that for a few minutes until it looks a little bit like this. And then I'm going to get it into a round. Okay, a little bit like this. Okay, something like that. It doesn't, I mean, again, it's only bread. It doesn't have to be perfect. So around like that. And then you're going to just pick that up as best you can with one hand and put it onto your tray. Okay, so now the next stage we're going to need a knife for. So if you guys grab a knife and then come back to the video. Okay, so you're just going to make a cut across the middle like this. Okay, and then again across the other way. Doesn't have to be perfect. Oh, sorry. And that'll just help the bread to cook evenly in the middle and let some of the hot air out of the center. Okay, so just like slash across and the same back the other way. And you'll know why when it comes out, it'll make sense. Okay, all right, so now we're going to pop it in the oven. Like I said, we're going to pop it in the oven now for about 10 minutes at 210 degrees or 195 degrees if you've got a fan oven. And once it's been in for 10 minutes, you're then going to turn the temperature down on the oven. Okay, so you're going to turn it down to 195 degrees or 175 degrees if you have it in a fan oven. Okay, most ovens are fan ovens, so mine is. I have my oven on now, preheated to 195 degrees. I'm going to put the bread in, leave it in there for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to turn it down to 175 degrees, and I'm going to cook it for about 35 minutes longer, but just keeping an eye on it as well. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll stop this video now, and then I'll make another video when the bread is finished so that you guys can see what mine looks like. Hopefully it looks good. Okay, happy baking.